So where does that leave both the Conservatives and the Liberals? Scott Reid is former communications director to Prime Minister Paul Martin. Kory Teneycke was Ontario Premier Doug Ford's campaign manager and former director of communications for Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Hi to both of you. Glad to see you on this weekday. Scott, I'll start with you. Both of you have experience, if I recall, with floor crossers going both ways. If you look, put it in a historical context, in your view, how significant is this one?
Pretty significant, particularly because of the added allure that there might be others. So we'll see if late-day development suggests maybe that won't come to fruition. But if it did, then obviously it would be really significant if it actually delivered a de facto majority to Carney. That would change the landscape enormously and probably trigger a leadership crisis within the Conservative Party. But look, even without that, floor crossings, like in politics, there are few events that are more disruptive, more destructive. They rip through a caucus like a dose of salts, and they create all kinds of questions and turmoil. So we're watching all that unfold today. You know, a caucus that at one point in its past has received floor crossers with open arms is now saying, my God, it's a betrayal of everything fundamental to politics. And people say the same thing when they're on the other end of it. So it's great sport, if nothing else. But in this case, with a budget vote hanging in the balance, a confidence vote hanging in the balance, it does rise to the level of high drama.
Yeah, that's the interesting part here, right, Kory? We're facing down a confidence vote at a time when, as of yesterday morning, the government was, or the Liberals were 3 seats short of a majority, and now they're just 2. How big of a deal do you think it is?
Well, look, floor crossing. I kind of agree with what Scott said. It's not new to any of the parties in the House of Commons. It always leaves a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of the party who's lost a caucus member and fills the one receiving them with glee. I don't think it's that meaningful in the sense that they're still short votes. Like close doesn't count when it comes to
Right.
government confidence votes. You need to find those extra 2 votes. And I don't think that, one MP crossing a floor really changes the predicament for the government. Like they need a couple of people to stay away or a couple of people to vote for them. And right now, we're not hearing any clear indicator of either one of those things. So I think the drama and speculation will continue until that question's settled.
What does it say to you, Scott, that speculation is out there, though? And it has been in the ether for a few weeks. This is the first proof point that it wasn't all just rumor. And now it's, pretty specific that there could be a few more in the offing, so much so that it's not just rumor, that in fact, Chris d'Entremont himself suggested that was the case today.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the reason the floor crossings are such dramatic events, because they're a very personal statement. The people who cross the floor are making a personal statement, either about their own ambitions or, more importantly, about the leadership of the party they're departing. And so that's where people went to. That's where media immediately asked, Chris d'Entremont, like, so is this because you can't bear the leadership of Pierre Poilievre? Are you guys on diametrically opposed planes? And, he was polite about it. He didn't rub it in, but he made it clear that he's not on the same wavelength as Pierre Poilievre, and he suggested that others are not as well. So if there should be more defections, that's why it would trigger a leadership crisis for Poilievre. And I can tell you, I've been on both ends of this. I've welcomed people into our caucus, and I've watched people depart it. I can remember when David Emerson, who we recruited to run for Paul Martin, after we lost the 2006 election, accepted a position as a cabinet minister in Stephen Harper's government. And I remember feeling deflated, bit personally betrayed. You take this stuff personally, and you can bet that Pierre Poilievre and his operation right now, they are taking it very personally.
Yeah, from everything I hear, there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes to kind of prevent anyone else from making the same decision. In your mind, politically, Kory, or strategically, if there are more, how much of a different sort of political impact could there be, in particular, on Poilievre's leadership?
Well, it's clearly not a good thing to have happen to your leadership, but I think what the challenge is the polling numbers that show that the Conservatives are winning on virtually every issue, except perhaps healthcare, have a significant issue advantage, except for leadership, where they're polling behind, and so I think that's creating some pressure within the party and within the caucus. But I don't think it's pressure to the point where you're going to see a serious challenge to his leadership. Like, I expect that he's going to easily win the leadership test in January. And I don't think there's going to be a bunch of other people leaving caucus. I just don't think it's at that level yet. But I think it points to, the vulnerability that exists in a parliament that's this close. Like, there's going to be a lot of pressure on MPs to stay where they are. There's going to be a lot of pressure on MPs to floor cross, and not just with the Conservative caucus. I think there'll be similar pressure on the NDP and the Bloc, although the Bloc's a little harder to get to defect.
Yeah, but they might be harder to convince. Do you think that's true, Scott?
Sure, I do think that's true, but I'll just revisit this leadership thing because I'm in agreement with Kory. Like, I think when it moves to the forum of party members, you look at Pierre Poilievre, he surely has a grip on that. So do I think he's going to lose that leadership review as a consequence of what happened today or what might happen over the course of the next few days? Probably not, even if it goes really south for him. But my God, stack these things up. He trails badly the prime minister when it comes to preferred prime minister and leadership approvals. He lost He lost an election that he was supposed to win with a thumping majority. He lost his own riding. Now he can't keep his caucus together. He's losing members of parliament. If he were to compound that by losing the majority, sure, he might win the leadership review. But what a wounded, weakened person he would be as a leader.
Yeah, but that would have to happen first.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, but that would have to happen first, and I think it's probably low. I think it's low probability that he loses another couple MPs. But look, it's never good news when this happens to you. It's as you say, Scott, we've been through this going both directions over the years, and it's always a bit of a gut punch for the leadership and the leadership team. But if your reaction to that is to really crack down on caucus and be very, very negative, you can make your problems worse. So it's kind of a delicate dance you have to do with caucus to keep them on side. It can't be too much carrot or too much stick. Otherwise, you risk making the situation worse.
Yeah.
I have just a few minutes. I wanted to get each of your reads on the budget. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
I was just going to say one of the challenges is a management challenge in a situation like this, when you know that there's a threat that others could bail. And so you have to figure out almost on a person by person, circumstance by circumstance basis, who responds to cajoling and an appeal that's positive, and who responds to negative reinforcement and the threat of the whip. And you got to really judge those things carefully, because when they go wrong, they could go badly wrong.
It's interesting that so much of this has been talked about for as many months as it has, like from a management perspective. Like literally since Chris Dontram, I was told since the day he lost the bid to be speaker, he was despondent and became target number one. That is like months ago. I digress, but I think that's very interesting. I did want to get each of your takes, your read on the budget. We're a day after right now. It was billed as something generational, transformative, a sea change. Kory, did it deliver?
I don't think it was, this huge transformational budget. Like, it didn't feel like that to me. But then again, I'm not an economist. I'm a political hack. So maybe these changes are going to spur huge amounts of investment, and we'll all be shocked and surprised. I didn't find it was a terribly political budget, like in terms of the communication of it, and I don't know if you were to ask, even today or a few days from now, if anyone in Canada will have the first clue of what was in the budget and what it was all about, other than perhaps the deficit number. So I don't think it really punched through. And I think, the topic that we were just talking about, a floor crosser happening on budget day, was stepped on the budget message big time. And I wouldn't, I'm sure the Liberal caucus welcomes having another member, but I would sure not have preferred to have it on that day if I were them.
We spoke so many times in the lead up to the budget about sort of a somewhat convoluted narrative heading into it. Do you think the narrative was better defined or at all defined coming out, now that we actually have the document coming out of it, Scott?
I thought it was better defined on budget day. But there's still a big challenge. I mean, first of all, there was a hype man dimension to the pre-budget communications. It's going to be generational. This is a hinge moment. Oh my God, think about World War II type developments. So they excited people to the point where anything short of Krypton exploding was going to be a bit of a letdown. So I think that was a challenge. Then beyond that, I think when you look at this budget in terms of its actual measures, you can tell that the Prime Minister used to be a central bank governor, because when you look at it, it seeks to re-engineer, restructure the economy of Canada in response to legitimate concerns and pressures. You know, the absence of the United States is that reliable partner that generates wealth and prosperity and jobs. So you want to restructure it. The challenge is that those measures, first of all, we don't know if they'll work. Second of all, if they do work, they take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And of course, the political calendar operates at a different level. So, I mean, are there people at the local bus stop saying, you know what, I think it's important that they had all those impressive productivity and competitiveness measures, because I believe that that's going to spur investment in machinery over the course of the next 6 years, which will generate investment and attract investment by the time that my children are graduating from high school. That's the challenge. They've got to make this thing urgent, real, and street level for people in the post-budget sale.
I mean, who
Pretty
doesn't
tough
talk
to
about
do.
productivity at the dinner table?